consider yourself a fisherman? Just how far do you want to take it?
So I am set up here. I'm still in the process of setting up a wad mill. Got all my baits, all my different baits here. I might save these for tomorrow. Those carp cells. I went in the tackle shop here, and they got an immense tackle shop and an even bigger warehouse here at Todmill. The thing is, it's largely carp and match fishing. But don't neglect the fact that they've probably got gear in there that would suit just ordinary anglers. And they've got top of the line stuff, don't get me wrong. But it's pretty much everything you want in there. So even if you're after small fish, they can help you out because they've got a real big match circuit that comes through here. And that's all about catching fish. So I'm trying to use the screen of the bivvy here for sound. Yeah, while I was in there, I couldn't help it. I could barely lift it. The old PCs, the old Pacific Tuna Mega Bag, and that'll last me for good 4 sessions there easily. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to hold the camera mix out. Got a bit of ground bait, so I'm going to throw a bit of ground bait in, and it's like a 2-part series if you like. I'm going to try and let's get the weight sling out of the way. Hopefully I'm going to bait up really close in. I don't know, I can't remember whether it's a daytime water or night water. Obviously I'm here overnight, that's hence the bivvy. So I'm not panicking. I'd like to see what's on the inside because they tell me there's some massive bream in here. I mean, low doubles the guys just told me down the road there. So I'm holding the camera, hopefully you guys are getting this sound. So what I've done is I've mixed up some Baileys here. I put in some regular trout pellets. Again, you get everything in the tackle shop. And I've got some of these, just so you see them, 6mm ones, which ordinarily you'd be fishing with a banded. So I'm going to put a little bit of this in. Don't get me wrong, this is for out by the island there for the carp as well. But I'm going to bait up a little bit down here and I can try float fishing for a few hours, see what I can catch. Just a way of bonus fishing. If you're just after carp, obviously you're going to sit there with the carp rods, aren't you, all the time. I get bored really quickly and I'm more confident sort of say 9 o'clock tonight when it's going to be dark, 8 o'clock, something like that. But what I was going to say is I'm going to make this ground bait really hard, and the reason I'm fishing close is because I still think a carp could come in there, but I'm after one of these big bream and probably some roach as well. If you squeeze the pellets in amongst this hard, rather than going around just picking them up individually when you throw them in loose, which if I was float fishing I would be throwing them in loose, but I want them digging and pulling in. If I imagine it like squeezing up a ball, can you see those bits in there like that? I wanted to dig those pieces out so they, they're getting more confident, more aggressive feeding, rather than just having a leisure of going around picking up loose feed like this. I'm trying to make it harder for them, if you like, and keep them in the swim longer. Let's get some of these out there. Gonna whiz in there some of this green stuff. Sticky syrup, PVA friendly, carp and coarse. In we go. Bosh, my favourite word. I've no idea what my sandwiches will taste like on my fingers after putting this stuff in. It's got a bit of a smell to it, sort of weird plasticky smell. So I'm not going to put a lot of bait in. This is just for in close, just down here in the margins. Now you're going to get the wind now when I go out there, so that's how close I'm intending to fish. Look, I could catch absolutely nothing. So squeeze it nice and hard like that, and that way the roach and that'll take longer to nibble it away and expose the pellets. I think that'll do it. Another tip is when you make your balls of ground bait up like this, just leave them for say 10 minutes and they'll sort of crust up on the outside, and hopefully they don't stick to the base of your ground bait catapult when you catapult them out. Or you can wet the pouch of the catapult, which should stop them sticking. But this way I find they crust up a little bit and they should go out. Look, I'm only going to be fishing over there. Very, very short cast for most carp anglers, but if that's where I'm going to fish, that's where I'm going to fish. So I've actually got the 2 carp rods rigged up. I might as well throw them out, even though hopes aren't high at the moment. And while I can fish close in, I'm still deciding whether I'm going to float fish in there or put a link ledger out and try for bream that way. But we might as well chuck 2 bags out, and this is what I've got. I've got the mesh socks, I'm going to call them. A bit small, I don't like these narrow ones. I have a lot of trouble getting the boilies in them. So, all rigged up as per normal. That's not right, that should go up over the swivel. It's only a short cast, really. I don't want to go tight to the island where everybody goes, because when it's dark I might put one up in the bushes and I'll waste time. That's sharp. And tangling it, so because I'm not casting long distance, I feel I can use these mesh bags of boilies here. All I've got in there, just so people know, is the 15mm, I think they are those ones, PCs. Perfect for carp. So I go through just here, in and back, because it's, look, it's only just a gentle lob out here. I'm out by that, sort of that bush over there. Here we go. I'm gonna, oh, it looked like a fish move there. Oh, happy days. I only put 2 balls of ground bait in there. Just a lob. Sink it straight away. Get myself clipped up with Mike's bobbins. Now, last time, well, is that tight? That's better. Put the music maker on. That's on. I'll just check this again, and if it's on like the bait runner, you just adjust it a bit there, make sure it is on the bait runner. Some people pop this in here like that. I don't like doing that because I've struck a few times and picked the rod up and it's gone flying all up in the air. See, these longer stockings are no good for distance casting because they'll helicopter and spin, but just for lobbing out I want to use them up anyway, so I find no problem just putting that hook through there and tossing it out. That wind, hopefully, they do say is going to lay down tonight. I certainly hope so. I reckon this is the one that's going to catch a fish. Now I put the ground bait out. I could catapult this, but I'm so close I can throw them. And you can actually see, look, they've crusted it up because I've left them for like a good 30 minutes. All that remains now is to follow up with some loose boilies, and I can rig up for fishing down in here. I've got the 2 carp rods out and I've seen a couple of bits of movement, swirls under the water. I don't actually know how deep it is. I think it's only about 4 or 5 feet, something like that, maybe 6, I don't know. But while I was in the tackle shop, I thought, as you do, that you got to pick up some extra gear. So I did pick up some PVA mesh. Always get a spare mesh. I'm constantly running out. So I got the wide one because I think I mentioned earlier I was using the narrow one. I don't like the narrow one. I like the wider one here. Whatever make. I couldn't care less, whatever make. But also I've run out. So I've got a spare bag to go over that one, which is, I like the large one. It's a bit easier. It must be by age. An easy fill funnel. Yeah, that sounds good to me. What's it? Gizmos in there. Some of this other weird thing in there. I don't know what else is in there. That's a 32mm diameter. And get the bag is a nominal 6 metre refill. But look at this. You'll be shocked. It's called, I'll cover the name up, a microwave scale which goes up to 44 pounds. Well, I fear I won't be catching many freshwater fish of 44 pounds. We've had them to like 300 pounds, sturgeon and stuff like that, but not in the UK. It's actually bad luck. Instead of my rusty old Super Samson balance, I've actually got these little things. I know what's going to happen. They'll probably run out of battery. I probably don't even have batteries. Let's have a look. Oh, I can't even see the numbers, it's so small. 2, 3, 4. Anyway, bits and pieces. I'm going to chuck a bit more bait in this left hand bit around the corner there, and probably have a go float fishing first. Now, one of the guys actually, coming out the wind, one of the guys actually said, get yourself, which I have got obviously, a riddle. Because what I'm going to be float fishing with are small pieces of luncheon meat in here, or link legend. I shall decide when I get set up in a minute. But he said, use this to dice up the luncheon meat. Now you can get, when you get them, and somebody did say they need £3 a tin, they are like £2.95. Forget the make, it's just luncheon meat. I'll turn it round. It's a little tin like this. You take it out of this, put it into another tin, and you plunge it down, and it pushes through lots of different cubes. And you can buy, wow, lots of different sizes. They use them a lot up on the 7, I think, and match scene, cutting up luncheon meat in small, even cubes. I'm going to try cutting a thin slice first, and then pushing it. I'm guessing is the way to do it. See if it will push through the maggot riddle. If it doesn't, I'm going to be all greased up for the night, smell lovely, attract the rats, and that guy's going to get a comment back. Let's hope it, for his sake it works. Better get the hand wipe. Now this stuff is at least 3 years old. It's left over from barbel trips on the River Wye. So I'm going to experiment with this first, because even though it's that old and has been frozen for 3 years, I'm figuring if I cut it about there, if it will, still got that sort of skin effect on it. If I take the skin off, it can all go in for ground bait. It just saves me, look, I can cut it up and cube it like this, kind of with a knife, but it's fairly laborious. Don't worry, it's all going in the water. All this loose stuff. Roach like this, bream, tench, chub, barbel, whatever. Right, keep that. So what he's saying is, you can push it through. I don't see this working, it's very small, we'll try it. I wonder if I should use the side of the tin. Oh, I can't get it to go through. Let's try fingers. I'm wondering if there's a different mesh size he uses. Look, I can push it through, makes a god-awful mess, and it makes absolutely, I'm going to call it micro pieces there, which obviously I wouldn't want to cut those out with a penknife. So maybe I'll scrap this other stuff and just throw that in loose, shall we? Let's have a go at that. It does seem a bit strange, but there might be a different riddle that's actually got bigger holes, because it does seem as though that's small holes for me. Oh, of course I was spilling it all over the floor now. There you go, it does actually sort of, it does sort of dice up. I would say that's more loose feed than hook feed. Anyway, some for you guys to experiment with. I have got some garden fencing, I couldn't find it, some square garden fencing that I used to make swim feeders for on the River Wye. And must have used it all, I can't find it, but that's in squares, this is in diamonds. A little bit more difficult, I think, and a lot smaller. But some of you guys out there might have a different way of doing this, but I fear I'll be cubing it up manually and just mashing up this leftover stuff first. So there is the difference between cubing up manually into bits this size, which is what I call hook bait size, and the final way of mashing it up for, I'm guessing, loose feed. Anyway, let's throw some in the water and then I shall get rigged up and see if we can't catch something interesting. Well, good to get that fish early on. I haven't even got the other rod out yet, so I'm going to dip it in some of this PC syrup, whatever they call it. Let it drip out, see if that makes any difference. The last one I forgot to dip, to be honest. Obviously don't make any difference really, it's just for the angles here. Around about that. Good. One carp out of the way, as it were. I've used a plumbing weight here to plumb the depth, and I've got a BB shot quite close there, you can see, to keep the bait on the bottom. So the hook is in that cork of that lead weight, so I've got the depth over depth because the wind is just howling, and I feel I might have to go to a link ledger, but I'm going to give it a go with the float. The float I'm using, I use floats for years, some I've had 30 years, this one I haven't, but look at that. A good way of mending a broken float that's been snapped, a piece of valve rubber tube, and this one takes 5 BB I think, which is quite heavy, but I can put 4 BB on and get it to there, and then the wind will go down to there, and if I've got a cube of luncheon meat it might go to there a little bit more. So let's get it out. Little tip is, the bigger the bait you're using, the more dense, heavy the bait is, do allow for that when you're shotting your float. And it's one thing I absolutely hate, is shotting floats up. It takes me forever. And the other thing is to put the plumb bob weight back. Well, I've chucked another load of bait in. I've had one rod, didn't have the camera ready, you have to take my word for it. That was on a piece of luncheon meat, 3 years old. Hard to believe. Let's see if we can get out there again. I need to be where that right hand duck is. There we go, we're on. Wowee. It's that fish. Oh no, oh no. Look at this, people. How is that? One carp about 14 or 15, and now I can sit here with the carp rod out and catch these rudd on 3-year-old luncheon meat. I've got a fresh can, of course I have. I wonder if I get them on those small pellets, but they're taking £6 lines straight through. When it's rough, don't be afraid to bump the float, but obviously you don't want it back here because there's no bait. You've got to visualise a 3-foot square area where the bait is. They might have had my bait off, and they have. On a size 12 hook. baits off, guys. Oh, there was a fish on there. So you can see you can amuse yourself while you're waiting for a carp rod to go off. Just check your fisheries, 2 rods, 3 rods, if depending on the licensing system and the day ticket system. Oh, that's going to get a fish. That's what I wanted to get. Unless that was my bait that came off. There's a gap in the wind. I've got a feeling they're hitting this meat on the way down and it's not even letting the float sink. I can feel it through my fingers, so I'm touch edging down here as well. Got the line just over my fingers there, over this finger, by the knuckle of the bail arm. That comes from barbel fishing with the float in the rivers. There's a bite. Now I'm just on the edge of the swim there. Well, it'd be nice if this wind goes down. I think they might have had it off yet. They're cleaning this meat off. Oh, look at that. That's a cracker right round the carp rod. That's me down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. Well folks, got a hook up. I missed one. I'll try and get you the best I can from this. I wasn't sure if my net was in the wrong position. Obviously not. I had one of the short tug. It didn't come to anything. Wow, looks like a nice mirror carp, to be honest. And it's a double, good old watermelon. You can't beat an early fish to give you a bit of confidence. Just a quick lift, just a quick lift on that one. Let's get him straight back with a waist length. About 14, I'm guessing 14, that sort of size. We've got a nice common carp this time, guys. Here we go. Just a sneak peek in there before we get one lift out of him. So it's 2 fish in the daytime and some rudd. Nice to see, nice to catch. You know, the saying is, nice to handle, nice to hold. If you break it, consider it sold. Unhook the fish, get your photograph, weigh it if you want to weigh it, and get straight back out again. Let's dip it in a bit of that gravy, this stuff. Oh man, it's lovely. It smells lovely. Strangely enough, I was going to recast it anyway, and then whoosh, off it goes. Well, I've caught about 20 rudd, nothing over a pound. Seems to be loads of those, so I brought the float a little bit closer in and put some more pellet feed out there. And I'm going to try some of these, the old hot dogs, and these are hot in 60 seconds. Favourites since 1949. Who with? The fish? Anyway, I'm going to see if I can get this open. I'm not sure I've got a tin opener, I've got a knife to get it open. I'll loose feed this in there, but I'm also going to put some of this juice into my ground bait mix, because I've got to do ground bait quite a bit out there. I've noticed as I've not fed that ground bait with the pellet in it, the carp action sort of seemed to have petered off a bit. Well, I managed to get the can open. Couldn't find the knife, I just used the wife's false teeth. Seemed to work. I don't take all my ground bait and then mix it all up. I bring a bag separately like this, put some in, and then I can top up. And if I don't use it, obviously it's nice and dry, I can either top up if I'm having a hectic day, or I can just sort of use what I want. I want to save a little bit for tomorrow. I'll put a bit more in there because I've seen how many rudd are in here, so I know they're absolutely piling their way through the loose offerings. And we'll see what they think. Now, I'm not wasting this juice in there, look, that's all going in with the ground bait, and that gives us some flavour as well. And I'll just shake 1 or 2 out, obviously not over the floor, Graeme. I've got a couple there, and just watch the tin. Always take rubbish home with you, standard procedure. These cube up really small. I quite like discs, but listen, you can, oh, I dropped it in there now. Smith made me do that. Listen, you can let's put that one down. You can make a smaller one, a smaller fish, by going down, watch your hand with a knife. This is a blunt knife, so it's okay, and then taking off pieces like this, or you can cut that again and make quadrants like that, which is probably what I should be doing, and that can all go in as well as loose feed. I might have to put some bags out again here, fresh bags. It's gone very quiet. Could just be a time of day thing, you never know. These are excellent for barbel, I can tell you, and for, I find, float fishing carp close in. Christ almighty, where did that go? In my shoe. God, what a mess, that's gone everywhere. These are a much softer bait, I find, than luncheon meat. Well, he's just pulled off that one, guys. He's just pulled off. I got the boilie and everything back. I guess for 10, 11 pounds he felt. Guys, I hit a big fish on the float. I don't know if it's one of these big bream or not, so I'm going to try and get it on the head cam, but I don't want to lose it. This is on the hot dog segment. Here he comes. I've got the camera in my mouth. Oh no, don't go in the other lines. Poor old Avon rod is whacked over here. No, that's a carp. He could well sprawl me out here and pop me. Nice fish. Nice fish. Might just get him in this net. Good going. Hit the big boy's net. Get in. I got him, alright. Got the camera in my mouth, sorry about that. On an Avon rod and a float and a piece of hot dog segment. Hooks out. He looks like Captain Chunky to me. Look at that tail. That's a beaut. Just shading the 10, I'd say. Look, nice fish. And guys, you can see what I mean about hot dog segment now. Oh, I'm so pleased I bought that can of hot dogs. I've got lunch on me here, there's no point using it. I was only trying to show you guys that you could amuse yourself while you're waiting for a carp on the carp rod by float fishing in the margins. And what do I get? A nice carp. Can't get away from them. I'd still like a bream. I'd like a bream that size. That would be a PB, a 10-pound bream. I think I'll be doing that with these hot dog segments again. I did say early on they are good for carp. Well, boys are going to celebrate that with a brew. I've forgotten a cup, so I'm going to have to use the old billy can. Well overdue. I don't think I've actually drunk much. And the trouble is you get a headache, you know, you get a background headache. If you don't drink enough, I'm facing right in the sun. It's a nightmare. I was lucky to see that float go with that last carp. So obviously I'm just sitting here like everybody does, waiting for one of these rods to kick off. But for me, catching one on the float, that's worth those other 2 or 3 fish hooked on the boilies. And the fact it's on a hot dog, a piece of a hot dog, a quarter of a quarter's hot dog. Well, I'm looking forward to that tea. Now this is where true willpower comes in. There are very, very few people walking this planet who could have that billy can of hot tea and only eat half of this giant custard cream, because I'm not supposed to have it till tonight, and I really, really badly want it now. Now, because I know it's there. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't want it, would I? But I've seen it. The wife's put it in. I've seen it. It's a special treat for later. I'm gonna. Well, do I cut it in half of it? Eat half of it? What do you think? I'll come back later after the adverts. On again, guys. I've filmed every single small fish. Here's number 6 or 7, I'm losing count. And this is only part 1. What's going to happen with part 2 through the night? Probably a blank. There's a lot of times they don't fight till they get really close. Mind you, I'm only on lighter carp rods. They're not great big heavy 3-pound test curve things. I like to see a bend in the rod. A bit of pressure. This one's a nice common. I might as well try these scales out now I've got them. It's good fish. Oh, you see that one? It's a quiet comatose common. I got him about 13, I'm guessing. Might go 14. Get him in. Wow, I stand corrected, guys, 17 pounds. I thought it was a good common. Maybe 115. What a session. No, don't go yet, not yet. Let me get this one back. That's on new scales as well. That's christened them. Fighting the fish from inside the bivvy. It's just gone off after I changed the camera batteries. There we go. Back in action.